So today I want to talk about friendships, and not only friendships in the sense of with people who look like you, and the importance of doing that, and the developing of one's own identity within that community. So I also want to talk about my experience with going to school in the MECO program. So the MECO program is a program that brings inner city youth to communities that are more affluent, might have a better education system, or they'll have better access to educational resources by going to those schools, are usually far away from that person's community. The community that I went to was in Concord, Massachusetts, and I actually started going there when I was in first grade. When I first went there, it was a little bit of a culture shock, but it was easy to adjust because I was only in first grade. It's easier to adjust when you are young in terms of who was around you. It was predominantly white. In terms of friendships, I made a lot of friends with people who were white. Being in that community, it was like, you're fully immersed in that culture, and of course you're going to take certain things from it and internalize things. It just becomes difficult when you have to internalize these things and be so entrenched in the culture, and then go back to a community that is very much different. You have this different mindset, and it's like you have to code switch between being in that community of Concord and being in a different community where it's of your own people, but sometimes it's hard to adjust because then it's like you realize, like, okay, your Concord friends, they have trampolines, they have pools, they have this huge backyard, they live in these huge nice houses. You go back to your community and it's kind of like there you see a lot of apartments and a lot of just kind of like subsidized housing, and you're just kind of like, there's a huge difference, but you really don't realize it or intellectualize it until you get older and can say, wow, that was very difficult to have two different communities that were so disparately different from each other. You're going to assimilate to a certain culture, and it becomes rather difficult to find your own identity within that. You're trying to preserve it, but it's not being built. It's really hard to build your own identity as a black person when, especially in the school, there's really no emphasis on black culture. There's no emphasis on the past, except for when you watch the movie Roots, which was school mandated to watch when I was in 6th grade. When you interact with black people and there's a sense of, or identity of blackness, it's like we're coming from similar backgrounds, and it's easier for us to kind of like interact with each other because we have that shared experience in a way. And it's like you really do see the beauty within your own culture. When you can't find black friends or friends of your own community, it's really hard to appreciate your own identity as a person of that community, because you don't really have anybody to kind of reflect yourself to actually appreciate all aspects of your culture. Opportunity to enjoy my culture and to be able to say, I've done all these things, and then it's like giving back to my culture and then fully participating in it. It's just something that's been beautiful for me, and it's really important to have black friends and a black network to be able to develop your own blackness. And I'm not saying this as like, if you're Latin, if you're Asian, being a part of a culture or being a part of your own culture and being with people who come from similar experiences and similar backgrounds to you is really something that is really elevating. And I would recommend and definitely emphasize the importance of having friendships within your own community, especially for black people to develop their own identity as individuals and as a people of their community.